It still doesn't feel real, does it? That moment when the world learned that Garrison Brown, Janelle's sweet, quiet, yet deeply thoughtful son, had died by suicide. For so many fans of Sister Wives, it felt like a gut punch. This wasn't just a headline or a plot point on a reality show. This was real life. A young man who grew up before our eyes, who built snowmen with his siblings, who helped his mom through one of the hardest transitions of her life, gone. The Brown family has weathered a lot of public storms over the years, but nothing could have prepared them, or any of us, for this. And for Janelle, the grief has been devastating. This isn't something you get over, it's something you learn to carry. But even in the darkness, even in the days when it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, Janelle has been slowly, quietly trying to move forward. Not to forget, not to pretend, but to heal. To start building something new, not just a home, but a life she can call her own. Hey friends, I'm Sophia, and welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives reality. If you've been following the Brown family's journey, especially Janelle's story, you know that the last few seasons have been intense. But today, we're going to take a closer look at what's really going on, past the headlines, past the sound bites, and into the heart of what Janelle and her son Gabe are truly going through right now. Because while this is a story shaped by grief, it's also one of growth, strength, and reconnection. So before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you've ever felt moved by Janelle's journey. And please, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what part of her story has stuck with you the most. Whether it's her resilience, her honesty, or just the way she loves her kids so fiercely, I know we all see parts of ourselves in her. After losing Garrison, Janelle wasn't just grieving the unimaginable. She was standing in the rubble of everything she once thought was stable. The plural marriage she had committed decades of her life to was already unraveling piece by piece. And now, in the aftermath of her son's death, it felt like the final thread had been pulled. What once was a complicated but shared life was now painfully quiet. But here's the thing about Janelle. She doesn't collapse. She rebuilds. We saw it play out in season 18, and it wasn't loud or dramatic. There were no sweeping declarations or teary monologues to the camera. Just Janelle, slowly taking back control of her life. Quiet strength. Focused energy. She knew what she needed: space, stability, and something solid to plant her feet on, literally and emotionally. And that's when she made the decision to start fresh in North Carolina near her daughter Madison. Now, let's be honest. This wasn't just about real estate. It wasn't just a plot of land or a construction project. It was a statement. After years of living in other people's homes, on shared land, in borrowed space, Janelle wanted something that was hers. A place to rest, a place to grow, a place to remember Garrison. And what did she do first? She started a garden. I don't think a lot of viewers understood at first how meaningful that act really was. But for Janelle, putting her hands in the dirt wasn't just about vegetables or flowers. It was about grounding herself in something that couldn't be taken away. She was planting roots, literally and figuratively, in a world that had ripped so much from her. She even planted a dogwood tree. That might not seem like a big deal, but for her, that tree became a living symbol of Garrison. Every season it blooms, it will remind her, and us, that grief doesn't disappear. It transforms. It weaves itself into our daily lives. And just like that tree, it becomes part of who we are moving forward. There's something so incredibly human about watching her water that garden. Touch the tree, call Garrison's name out loud. It's not performative, it's not for the cameras, it's for her heart, for her healing. And that brings us to Gabe. You guys, Gabe has always had this quiet intensity about him. He was never the loudest Brown kid, but he's always been one of the most emotionally aware, and we watched him go through something that no sibling should ever have to: finding your brother after he's taken his own life. It's the kind of trauma that doesn't just hurt, it changes you. But Gabe, like his mom, hasn't curled up or disappeared. He's trying to rebuild too, and the way he's doing it? It might surprise you. After months of silence, Gabe resurfaced on Cameo of all places. Now, at first glance, you might think, okay, he's doing some shoutouts, no big deal. But if you actually watch those videos, you'll see something much deeper. He's using humor, connection, and small personal messages as a way to reach out again, as a way to breathe through the pain. Because that's what grief does, doesn't it? It makes us look for any light we can find. And for Gabe, showing up for strangers, people who watched him grow up, is part of that healing. He's still hurting, you can tell, but he's trying. And sometimes, trying is everything. What breaks my heart the most is how fractured his relationship with his father, Cody, still is. That distance, that absence, it's not just a side note, it's a gaping wound. Cody wasn't there in the way Gabe needed him. Not when he was struggling during the pandemic, not after Garrison died. And yet, Gabe keeps going, with Janelle's quiet support, with his own humor, with whatever pieces of himself he can still hold on to. And you know what? Watching both Janelle and Gabe build something new from the ashes, it's emotional, it's raw, and it's exactly why so many of us are still glued to this story. Because it's not just reality TV anymore, it's real life. And it's reminding all of us that no matter what breaks you, there is still something on the other side worth living for. So while Cody drifts further into his own world, and while Mary and Robin spiral into their own drama, Janelle is planting dogwood trees. Gabe is sending hopeful messages to fans. And together, this mother and son are slowly, achingly making their way towards something like peace. This isn't about perfect endings, it's about real people doing their best with what little they have left. And honestly, I think that's what makes it beautiful. So let's shift the focus a little. Because while Janelle and Gabe are in the process of picking up the pieces, there's another layer to this story that's just as crucial: family connection. You see, Janelle and Gabe aren't alone in their journey. There's a whole network of people around them, and let's be real. Sometimes that network is a source of strength, and other times it feels like more of a burden. Janelle's bond with her children, especially Madison and Gabe, is one of the few constants in a world where everything feels like it's shifting. After Garrison's death, there was a noticeable change in how the family interacted with each other. It wasn't just about supporting Janelle, she was supporting them too. Grief doesn't operate on a schedule, and for Janelle, it was about finding ways to stay present for her kids, even as she navigated her own broken heart. Take Mother's Day, for example. That wasn't just another holiday. That wasn't about gifts or brunches. That was Janelle receiving something truly meaningful, a gift that would become a permanent part of her. It was a gift from her grandchildren, a piece of jewelry imprinted with their little handprints. Now, if you've ever lost someone close to you, you know how deep and emotional these little things can become. That pendant wasn't just a cute keepsake. It was a connection, something that reminded Janelle of what she still had, her family, her legacy, and it gave her something to hold on to in the midst of all that pain. Every time she touches that gift, she's reminded that love doesn't die. It transforms. And then there's Gabe's journey through all this. He's the one who saw his brother's lifeless body. He's the one who had to bear witness to that gut-wrenching moment. No amount of therapy or getting through it can erase the scar left by that kind of trauma. Gabe hasn't had the smoothest ride in terms of his relationship with Cody, and we've seen how his distance from his father has affected him emotionally. Janelle's journey of personal reclamation is ongoing, and she's doing it with grace. Her decision to break away from the toxic patterns that defined her old life shows us just how strong she really is. It's not easy to rebuild from something so public, especially when the world has watched every heartbreak, every disappointment, and every failure. But it's happening. It's happening through the slow and steady process of creating her dream home. Home. Carving out space for herself and her family, and finding moments of peace in the middle of chaos. It's happening when she reaches out to Gabe and her other children, showing up for them, even as she's struggling herself. And through all of this, Janelle isn't just healing for herself. She's creating a legacy for her children and grandchildren, one that shows them what it means to survive, to grieve, to grow, and to ultimately find a way back to joy, even after such deep sorrow. As for Gabe, he's learning the same lessons, maybe in a different way, but the core truth remains. Healing is a long road, but it's possible. It takes time, it takes bravery, and sometimes it's about finding the courage to ask for help, whether it's from your family, your community, or even strangers who care. It's not an easy road for either of them. Not by any means, but what's clear is that they are both rewriting their stories. They are both, in their own way, taking back control of their lives, not through grand gestures or heroic acts, but through the quiet power of choosing to move forward, one small step at a time. So, While Cody's world continues to unravel in its own chaotic way, Janelle and Gabe are stepping into a new chapter. It's not perfect. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it's real, and it's theirs. And honestly, that's something we all could learn from, right? It's not about having all the answers or making everything work perfectly. It's about finding your way through the pain, finding your way back to what matters most: family, love, connection. As we wrap up Janelle and Gabe's story, it's impossible to ignore the massive shift that's taken place. This wasn't just about the loss of a son and brother. It's about how, in the midst of that unimaginable grief, they've found the courage to rebuild. Their paths aren't perfect and they're not without struggle, but the heart of their journey is about something much bigger than just surviving. It's about reclaiming their power, their identity, and their sense of hope after devastation. For Janelle, that reclamation has been a powerful transformation. She's not the same person she was when we first met her on Sister Wives, and let's be honest, it's hard to imagine anyone who could go through what she's been through and come out the other side unchanged. But she's doing it. She's choosing a life of peace, purpose, and independence, even if it means stepping away from everything she once thought defined her. That's the real beauty of her journey. The courage to break away from the past, even when it feels like the world is telling you to stay tied to it. Her decision to build a home for herself on her own terms is symbolic. It's not just about putting up walls and a roof. It's about creating a space where she can heal, where she can finally feel like she belongs to herself and her family. That dream home isn't just a house. It's a manifestation of everything she's working towards: stability, healing, new beginnings, and it's not just about the house, it's about the land she's nurturing with her own hands, the garden she's tending to, both literally and metaphorically. By growing food, by planting seeds, by tending to the soil, Janelle is also tending to herself. She's healing, one plant at a time. She's grounding herself, reconnecting with nature, and finding comfort in the simplicity of it all. It's a beautiful thing to witness, especially after seeing how much her life had been defined by constant change, uncertainty, and the struggles of polygamy. Then there's Gabe. He's in his own battle, carving out a path through his grief and finding ways to reinvent himself after everything he's been through. It's not easy for him, especially considering the complicated relationship he has with his father, Cody. But what stands out in Gabe's journey is his determination to keep going, to keep moving forward. He's finding healing in his own way, whether it's through humor, creativity, or simply taking the time to process what he's lost. Gabe's path is one of reinvention, and like his mom, he's learning to redefine himself beyond the trauma and loss. And you know what? It's this emotional transparency that makes both Janelle and Gabe so relatable. Watching them share their pain with the world doesn't make them weak. It makes them strong. It takes a tremendous amount of vulnerability to publicly acknowledge your grief, your loss, and your healing. But that's exactly what Janelle and Gabe have done, and it's why their journey resonates with so many of us. They're not putting on a mask of perfection. They're not pretending to have all the answers. They're showing us the messy, painful, and incredibly human process of working through grief. And that's something we can all relate to. But what's truly incredible is how, even in the face of all this pain, they've found new ways to connect. Janelle and Gabe's relationship has clearly deepened, and it's beautiful to see how they're leaning on each other in ways they never did before. There's a new sense of empathy and understanding between them, a recognition that they both need each other in order to keep moving forward. It's not always easy, but it's real, and that's what makes it so powerful. Looking back, what we've seen is a remarkable transformation. Janelle and Gabe have faced the worst imaginable tragedy and emerged from it not unscathed, but stronger. They're still grieving, still healing, but they're doing so in a way that's uniquely theirs. And while their future is still unfolding, there's a sense of hope that wasn't there before. This is a story about resilience, about finding your footing after life has knocked you down. It's about taking the time you need to heal, but also recognizing when it's time to step forward and build something new. Janelle's new life in North Carolina, her garden, her dream home, and her growing relationship with her children are all pieces of that. Gabe's journey of creative reinvention and finding ways to heal through his grief is another. In a world where we often see families like the Browns torn apart by conflict and scandal, it's refreshing to witness the moments of healing. There's so much raw, unfiltered emotion in their story, and it's this authenticity that makes it so powerful. The Brown family may be fractured in some ways, but through it all, there's this undeniable thread of love, even in the face of loss. So, as we leave this chapter, we know that while Janelle and Gabe's journey isn't over, it's clear they've taken huge steps towards healing. And in a world where so much is uncertain, isn't that something we can all root for? As we come full circle in Janelle and Gabe's journey, one thing becomes incredibly clear. Both are planting roots, literally and figuratively. When we first met Janelle on Sister Wives, she was part of a family dynamic that was, at times, complicated and emotionally charged. But today, as she builds her dream home, tending to the land and watching her garden grow, we see a woman who's finally planting herself in the world, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. That garden, with each seed she plants, is a reflection of her journey of growth and healing. It's more than just nurturing the earth. It's about nurturing herself, her family, and her future. Every time she puts her hands in the soil, she's doing more than gardening. She's replanting the roots of her life, reconnecting to what matters most, her children, her new home, and a quiet, grounded life that's truly hers. And as she watches those seeds bloom, there's a sense of peace in knowing that even after such great loss, she can still cultivate something beautiful and full of life. But it's not just Janelle who's been planting new roots. Gabe, too, is finding his own way to heal and rebuild. While his grief is still raw and present, he's discovering new ways to express himself and connect with others, especially through his newfound creative outlet in platforms like Cameo. Through these small steps, Gabe is slowly learning how to redefine his identity after his brother's death, finding strength in humor, creativity, and, most importantly, in his bond with his family. Even though Cody's distance is still felt, the connection between the Brown siblings and their bond with Janelle remains unshaken. They are a reminder that even when one part of the family is fractured, the rest can still come together to support one another. This journey they're both on is a profound reflection of what healing really looks like. Healing isn't always about a sudden breakthrough or an immediate change. It's about the slow, steady process of growth. It doesn't happen overnight. It's messy, painful, and full of setbacks. But it does happen. Just like the dogwood tree that Janelle planted in memory of Garrison, healing takes time. The roots grow deeper, the branches stretch out, and eventually, the flowers bloom. It's not a linear process. Some days the pain feels overwhelming, and other days there's a glimmer of hope. But it all adds up. Every moment, every tear, every step forward, no matter how small. As we look to the future, Janelle's vision is clear. She's not looking for the chaos or the drama she once lived with. What she desires is simple: peace, independence, and a life that's completely her own. A life that's rooted in honesty, in quiet strength, and in the healing power of nature. It's a future where she can honor the memory of her son, while continuing to move forward with resilience and love. In her eyes, the future is about finding balance, a balance between remembering the past and embracing the future. And with that future in sight, Janelle is creating something truly beautiful, grounded in love and centered in peace. For both Janelle and Gabe, this journey is far from over.